Hi everyone, I hope you can all hear me. Let me know in the comments. Always have a little bit of a technical drama at the start of these streams. Let's just see. It's coming through. Yes. Awesome. Okay guys, thanks so much for joining us today on this super exciting live stream. I don't think I've ever done this at home before. A complete Aquascape from scratch at home during a YouTube live stream. And yeah, before I start, I hope everyone is well during this kind of global crisis that we're going through. Seems that things might be turning the right way for us all. Let's fingers crossed. Hope things get back to a kind of normal fairly soon. But with that in mind, I normally do step-by-step video tutorials for aquascapes, but I thought with what's going on, people are spending more time at home. They can't physically see me do a workshop in the store. In fact, I had 2 workshops planned recently, 3 in fact, Horizon Aquatics, Aquarium Gardens and Unimarte in Denmark. All those were cancelled. So I thought the next best thing is to do a workshop at home for you guys. So I really hope you enjoy this one. Hit that like button if you do enjoy it, and really consider sharing it as well. That would be massively appreciated. And let's share the aquascaping love as far and wide as we can. I'm definitely going to be more on a transmit mode during this workshop, so feel free to chat with each other on the live chat. If you've got any kind of Q&As, questions that want answering, then hopefully some more experienced people on the chat will be able to answer you directly. I will try to find some time for Q&A at the end, so bear with us until the end for that as well. But the whole thing should last about an hour or so, maybe a bit longer, see how we go. But I'm really excited by this one, and I hope you guys are too. It's a real special one for me. I want to tell you a little bit of a story about the tank to start with. So this is actually a Tropica AquaCube. Now before you get too excited, these aren't available to buy, I'm afraid, anymore. I think these were released in 2004 and they weren't actually available for a long period of time. They were kind of limited edition. They're very expensive, in fact. They're made of, I'm not sure if you can see the clarity of this. I'll get the camera much closer up when we're doing the actual workshop so you can see the details of what I'm doing. But it's actually made from crystal, from the Czech Republic. It's really heavy. I was really surprised how heavy it was. It's made from one solid piece of crystal. It's not a standard aquarium with 5 panes of glass silicon together. So it's a very high quality piece of equipment. It comes supplied with a light bracket and it's really hot. It's actually a 20-watt halogen lamp bulb that's fitted to this. I think the standard is a 10-watt, but they've included a 20-watt as well. Because it's halogen, it gets super hot. Now I can replace this with an LED replacement, which is probably what I'll do, which will actually give us more light as well. Excuse me. So, and you also get this kind of planting mat and a little bit of aqua decor as well, but I'm not going to be using them. I'm going to just be using the Tropica soil, Tropica plants and some beautiful hardscape, which I'll show you later. So the Tropica AquaCube, unfortunately not available to buy anymore. If you're very lucky, you might be able to find it on eBay, or you might know someone that wants to sell you one, but they are really, really rare. I know Yuri's, I think he's watching right now, hello mate, I know he's desperate for one. But yeah, very, very grateful to have this one. And actually, I don't know if you can see there, it was actually given to me by a very special person, Holger Windelov, who is the founder of Tropica. And the story goes that there was 5 of us, full-time aquascapers, aquascaping for Interzoo 2020 at Tropica headquarters in Denmark, and Holger came along to watch us in action, and we had a really good conversation. Long story short, next day he came and he gave me this, and he wrote a note on it for me, and I actually got a little bit emotional because Holger is an absolute legend in the industry. You know, he founded Tropica in 1970. It's Interzoo 2020 was going to really celebrate its 50th anniversary. Obviously with Corona, it's been cancelled, Interzoo, until further notice. So unfortunately we couldn't kind of, you know, see the fruits of our labour, if you like, with all these aquascapes that we created at Tropica. There is still the limited edition tank running, which is a 3 metre by 40 centimetre by 40 centimetre, which is about 10 feet long by 18 inches by 18 inches. Do check out the Tropica YouTube channel, loads of content going on there recently. I'm really heavily involved with that. Yoris is helping out as well, and my colleague Radu. And between us, we're creating some really great content over on the Tropica YouTube channel. So make sure you subscribe to that as well. There's at least one video a week going on there right now. I'm digressing. So that's the story behind the AquaCube. I was given this by the founder of Tropica, and I thought what better thing to do with it than Aquascape with it live for you guys. So I hope you really enjoy it. I'm really excited by this. Long term, it's actually going to go on my desk, and it's going to be, I'm really excited to see it on my desk. And yeah, let's get going. Oh, really excited by this. Okay, so it is a nano tank. Now, interestingly, 2004, nano aquariums weren't very popular. In fact, you could argue that the Tropica AquaCube was one of the first nano aquariums that really started the craze. And you know, I really like nano tanks for a few reasons. Number one is they're relatively cheap to buy and set up, so you're not spending as much money on the actual hardware or the hardscape or the plants and the soil and all the other kit that you need. They're relatively easy to maintain because they're so small. A water change takes much less time. Any trimming can be done quite quickly. And another thing that I really love about nano tanks is it really forces you to get up close to the aquarium and really lose yourself in it. You know, they're great for shrimp only or tiny little nano fish, of course, maybe some snails. And you know, for that reason, I really love nano tanks. I don't actually have any running at home right now, so really excited to get going on this one. And I'm open to ideas on what you think should go in here livestock wise. Let's scape it first and then we'll have a little chat about that maybe at the end. But I'm thinking shrimp only. I think it's too small for fish. Speaking of size, it does measure 20 centimetres, I think, by 20 by 20 or 8-inch cube, which is, I think it's about 8 litres or 2 gallons. So it is a tiny aquarium, but super high quality, super rare. And obviously being given to me by the founder of Tropica, super special for me, so really cool. So nano tanks in general, if you're a beginner, nano tanks are great because, like I said, cheap to set up, easy to maintain. You are obviously limited with your livestock options and maybe even your plant options. So when you're buying your plants, always consider how big they have the potential to grow. And of course, in a tiny aquarium, they're going to soon outgrow that tank unless you choose the species appropriately. Now, I think I've chosen really nice species that will survive in here long term without too much maintenance. So we'll talk about those later. Let me just dive on over to the chat, make sure everything's working okay. Yeah, hit the like button, guys, if you're enjoying this. Hey, Horizon Aquatics are here, empty fish tanks are here, awesome. The sound is low. Is this plugged in properly? I've got a microphone. Can you hear me, guys? Let me just turn the volume up on here and see what the sound's like. Yeah, it doesn't sound too great, does it? We always have technical dramas. Does that make any difference? No, it's not. Been working the microphone. Right, just sorry about this, guys. Just bear with me one moment. Okay, hopefully that's better. Oh, that's much better. There must be a loose connection. Sorry about that. Always a technical drama on these live streams. I need an assistant. Okay. Okay, guys, sorry about that. I need to invest in a better microphone or better phone even, or some sort of better live streaming device. Okay, let's scape. So, first of all, I'm just going to move the lamp out of the way so we have access. In fact, I'm going to take this right off. This just comes off here. It has a little rocker switch on here, so you can just see that. So I can replace this. This is a halogen lamp, 20 watt, which I'm going to replace with an LED eventually, I think. It's a very low Kelvin rating, probably 2,700 or 3,000 Kelvin, so it's very kind of orange or yellow. So I'm going to just pop that down there so we have kind of unlimited access. Let's get this out of the way, we don't need the box anymore. Okay. Can you see that in the shot? Yes, you can. Awesome. Let's move the camera a little bit closer. This is why I need an assistant. So have a chat amongst yourselves, guys, in the stream. How's everyone doing? Where are you all from? There's a few well-known YouTubers on here, so have a chat with them. Hopefully they can give you some hints and tips as well. I know MD's in the house and Yuri's potentially, hopefully. Okay, so let's go back in front of the camera. Okay, good. So the first thing we do is install our substrate. Most of you know by now, I love Tropica aquarium soil. This is the powder version. So this is a very fine grain structure compared with the regular normal soil type. So this is about 1 millimeter maximum size grains, whereas the normal type is about 3 or 4 millimeters. And this is great for nano tanks. It gives it a better sense of scale. If you imagine using a large grain in a tiny tank, that's just going to really blow the scale. You're really going to know that's a tiny tank, especially in photographs. If you use a fine grain sand or soil, you really get this better kind of sense of scale. So the actual product itself contains lots of nutrients to help feed the plant roots, has a high cation exchange capacity, which means it can take in nutrients from the water, lock those into the soil and make those available to the plant roots as well. It also gives off nutrients to feed the plants in terms of the leaves, and it has this kind of self-sustaining buffering capacity. So really, really effective product, doesn't need any rinsing, doesn't need a base layer of anything, you can just use it on its own. So really great product, relatively expensive compared to like an inert sand or a gravel, but the results you get from it are far superior. You're much more likely going to succeed with your plants if you use a decent soil. So I always recommend using a soil, even if you can't get hold of the Tropica, try to use a good quality aquarium soil if you can. I'm not a huge fan myself of dirted tanks or like using a garden soil or organic compost, etc. I don't actually, hands up, I don't have much experience of this. I have seen guys have great results with it, but in my experience, in my opinion, I think it's better to buy a commercially, an aquarium kind of commercially produced product. You're supporting the aquarium industry and you're going to get a much more kind of stable results, a much more consistent result with it, I would suggest. So that's my personal opinion. You might have heard different, you might have had better experiences with organic compost, etc. But personally, stick with a commercial soil. Okay, so let's open that up. Scissors down here. Now, of course, we don't need much in here. In fact, you know what I'm going to do first? Because it's so small, and because of the Hardscape, I'm going to put the Hardscape in first. So, sorry about that. Got it in the wrong order, which is very naughty of me. I'm just going to go and grab the wood right now. Sorry about this. Just have to... Let's get this wood out here. This is what I prepared earlier, as they say, on Blue Peter. Who remembers Blue Peter, the English, the British TV programme? Okay, so we've got some beautiful driftwood here. It's actually got a flat base, so it sits perfectly in the Aquascape. Now I can position it in any number of ways. I'll probably kind of go that way. I think that looks quite nice. We've got this main branch here. Should we get a bit closer? Do you think we're close enough? Okay, I'm going to go a bit closer with the camera because it's a little bit distant, and then I'll get the studio lights so it's really nice and bright for you guys. So let's just move the camera. When the lockdown's over, I'm going to get like a filming apprentice to help me out with these live streams, I think.
Okay, let's get a little bit closer. Let's just dip that down a bit there. Yeah, let's hope it doesn't float, yeah? Those that have seen my Flue Valve Flex, thanks for the super chats, guys. Obviously, I'm very grateful for any super chats that you want to leave me, but if you want to save them to the end, and then if you want to get a question answered, then that would be my suggestion for you. But, you know, I'm always going to be grateful for any super chats, of course, especially during this lockdown where, you know, my income's actually not suffered massively, but I can't do workshops, I can't work out of the house, so it is a little bit different for me now. Anyway, that's enough of that. Okay, so I think that's okay there. They're filling up the frame nicely. The tank's 8 inches by 8 inches or 20 centimetres by 20 centimetres, which is about 2 gallons or 8 litres or so. Okay, can you see me? Awesome. Okay, and drop the soil. Okay, let's get the soil in now. So the wood's in. You can see that the main kind of structure, the main focal element of the wood, very kind of vertical nature we've got going on here, which I think looks great for this kind of cube style aquarium. The main bit is roughly 2/3 of the way along here, which is what we like to use the rule of thirds. So you can split the aquarium up into 3 equal parts. Compositional guideline. You might have seen a little grid on your phones when you take pictures. Always best to line up the focal point with the rule of third. So that's what we're using there, which is perfect. Scissors, let's open the bag up. And then we can just pour this in. This is actually a 3 litre bag. We won't need anywhere near that. We'll probably only need a litre or so. You can have it slightly steeper at the back and shallower at the front. This is going to give you an optical illusion that the tank is actually deeper than it really is. Let's try that for now. And I've got a little paintbrush down here which we can use to move the soil around. It is a small space to work in. It is quite a challenge. We definitely need aquascaping tweezers for this job. I think I've got far too many plants. I actually prepared the plants already, you know, in preparation for this workshop. I didn't want to be sat here for hours, you know, splitting apart pots of hairgrass, except, well, in fact, we haven't got hairgrass, but carpeting plants. In terms of the light long term, I said I'm going to replace it with the an LED unit, which will be much brighter. And then I'll probably put a really small filter on here, maybe like an Eheim surface skimmer with the actual skimming portion removed. So it's just like a little power head with a little sponge underneath. Or alternatively, a small hang on the back filter. Or maybe even we could go like a small Oase Filto Smart 100 with some glassware fitted. The spin glassware I'm thinking would look great on here. But I'll make a decision on that later. And then of course I will try to keep you guys updated as the progress of this scape. And it is going to be on my desk, so I'm going to be looking at it every day. So it will kind of remind me that it needs maintaining as the 1200. You know, in fact I did a water change on that today. I'm doing about 2 or 3 water changes on the 1200 every week now. And the improvement in the overall kind of health of the aquarium is amazing. The fish, the plants, 0 algae issues. You know, if I can recommend anything to kind of instantly improve your aquascape is do more water changes. A bit more. Okay, so that's probably about half a bag there, so that's 1.5 litres. I think that's plenty now. Are we looking? So this wood has actually been soaking for 3 months or so in a massive bucket in my garden with loads of other pieces of wood. So I'm hopeful that it will stay submerged once I've filled it up with water eventually at the end of the stream. So that's all fingers crossed for that. Okay, is that looking pretty straight? It's not looking very tidy at the front there, George. That's a bit disappointing. You hear that crystal, can't you? That glass wouldn't make that lovely noise. Okay. I know what I forgot to do. I'm going to make a little confession here. I normally, well, this is one of Yuri's top tip, is to use Tropica nutrition capsules. He actually sprinkles it. He does a little layer of soil, I think, and then undoes one of the capsules, sprinkles the actual nutrient little balls in there, and then tops it off with another layer, but I forgot to do that. I don't actually use these very often at all. Maybe in an old Aquascape when I'm on a target feed Crips or something else, which is a heavy root feeder, then I might use these. I was intending to use these. I even put them there to remind me and I still forgot. So anyway, if you want to get better root growth, Tropica nutrition capsules are very effective. Okay, so hardscape's done, soil's done. We talked about the benefits of the soil. It's worth investing in decent hardscape, guys. You know, if you want to kind of get the best out of your aquascape, you need to start off with a strong hardscape. It is the backbone of the layout. It's like the skeleton. It's like the framework which the plants are all built around. If you start off with a strong hardscape, then it's very likely that you can create a stronger aquascape. If you didn't have any hardscape at all, or the hardscape was very weak or quite small, then you're really going to have to rely on those plants to give you the visual kind of impact. That's going to take time and effort. So start off with a strong hardscape from the start. You can enjoy your aquarium right from the start as well while the plants are growing in, and you're going to create a much kind of more impactful layout by using a strong hardscape. If your local stores don't stock it, then consider buying online. Some actual online stores will even, you can kind of maybe even do a video call with them and have a look at what they've got and get them to send the individual pieces that you like. There's some stores that actually do what you see is what you get on their website. So you look on their website and they've actually got the individual pieces photographed, so you can physically pick, and then they might even have like a ruler or tape measure next to that piece so you can actually see how big that piece is. Okay, so let's just have a quick look. Is there too much soil on the foreground? Not really. I mean, it's only an inch or so. I mean, it is obviously a tiny tank, so relatively speaking, it looks like a lot of soil. Let's just, when I plant into it, it's going to probably slope forward again anyway, but let's just make it a little bit steeper at the back. You don't actually need the nutrition capsules, in my opinion, with this soil. It's rich in nutrients already. I like to dose a liquid fertilizer every day, so the plants are getting plenty of nutrients. And I find the root capsules more kind of useful in longer term. Once the soil might be a little bit depleted of nutrients and you want to give a little bit more food to those plant roots, once the aquascape's really mature, then I think the root capsules are probably more helpful then. But that's just my personal experience, my opinion. There's plenty of ways to achieve success. So, okay, hardscape's in. There's not really any room for rocks because it is such a small footprint we're working with. It's only an 8-inch or 20 centimetre footprint. So, unfortunately, it is a limited space. So let's move on to planting. I always plant into the dry soil. I used to actually just fill the aquarium up to the top of the soil there, or at least mist the soil. But I find now with a dry soil, and this is another tip from Yuri's, by planting into the dry soil, it just helps to anchor those roots better. And when you do actually eventually fill up with water, less chance of the plants floating, and actually just a cleaner process while you're actually planting. You're not getting loads of kind of mud, sludge on your tweezers, which you're going to kind of transfer everywhere. So planting into dry soil is a top tip. Now we're ready to plant. Let's just give those a bit of a spray. I did prepare these earlier. Down there. I'll just talk you through the species, and then I want to talk in particularly about the 1-2 grow range. Okay, so here let's go up to the camera a bit better for you. Can we see that? I'm just checking on the screen. Yeah, that's fine, isn't it? Okay, so here we have Liliopsis brasiliensis. This is going to be the foreground carpeting plant. This is a Nubius petite. This is the epiphyte plant, which we're just going to wedge in between the wood. This is Starogani repens, which we're going to use in the midground. This is Bacopa compact, which we'll put in the background. This is Cryptocorini pechi, which will go in the midground. And then we have Cryptocorini parva, which will kind of go in between the midground and the foreground with a Liliopsis. So quite a simple planting plan, all easy plants, all quite slow growers, so it should be relatively easy to maintain. I'm not sure if I'm going to inject CO2 or not. I do have like a Tropica nano system, pressurized nano system, which is a little 95-gram cylinder. So I might inject CO2, see how we go, but I'm undecided on that one at the moment. So, using our aquascaping tweezers, let's start with the foreground. Let's get the camera even closer for you so we can see some planting action. Let's just top that down there. Okay, yeah, I guess people are asking if these are available anymore. Unfortunately not. You might get really lucky and find one on eBay or another kind of online marketplace, maybe on the Facebook kind of marketplace, etc. But they are super kind of rare, unfortunately. Okay, so we've got our Liliopsis. I prepared this earlier. I'll split it into quite a few different individual portions, which makes more economical coverage. I've just used the one pot of the 1-2 grow, the Tropica 1-2 grow. Now, many of you that kind of watch my videos regularly will know that I love the 1-2 grow. They're produced in Tropica's own laboratory in Denmark, and they're guaranteed to be free from algae, pests, pest snails, pesticides, so they're going to be shrimp safe, and disease, no disease present in these. There's always a risk when you buy a potted plant or a submersed plant, then it's going to come with snail eggs, algae, and potential disease. A lot of plants that are imported from Asia are treated with pesticides. These are absolutely lethal to any invertebrates you have, any shrimp, etc. So, if you definitely want to get the best start possible, then I would strongly recommend a Tropica 1-2 grow. You get so many individual plants in the one pot versus a regular pot. They're baby plants, so they're much smaller. And this puts a lot of people off. They'll see a Tropica 1-2 grow pot, and then they'll see like a regular immersed pot that you can buy, and the immersed pot will be much bigger. The plant will be much more mature. It's an actual older plant, but you won't get as many plants. And another advantage of the 1-2 grow is that most species are actually grown in a liquid, in a special nutrient-rich liquid. Which means that the plant is already adapted to grow underwater. So when you put that plant in your aquarium, it just wants to grow really quickly, really well, straight away. And it gives you a really, really healthy, good start. And this is why, if possible, I would use as many 1-2 grow as you can. I think there's about 40 species now available in the Tropica 1-2 grow range. A big selection from foreground, midground, background, and even epiphyte plants now available in the 1-2 grow. So, it should be something for everyone. Have a chat with your local store. Hopefully they're a Tropica stockist. And then if you want to order any specific species in, then I'm sure they'll help you out. I've got so many plants here. They've got far too many for this tiny tank. Always better to have too many plants than not enough. It's really important to plant heavily from the outset. The more plants you have, and the healthier those plants are to start with, the better they're growing. So the better conditions that you give them, the better maintenance you give them, the better fertilizers, the better soil, the better the circulation, the better the plant growth, and then all that adds up to less algae. So if you think about algae and plants always in competition with each other, algae is always kind of there waiting in the background, ready to pounce if you neglect your tank in any way. If you kind of don't look after your plants appropriately for your setup, then algae will absolutely punish you. And I've experienced this countless times. you know, by neglecting an aquarium for any length of time, the result is just generally algae. You know, some people they do the no water change method, but this is appropriate for that setup. You know, they might have less lighting, they might have perfect kind of water parameters, and they might have very likely going to have easy plants and lots of them. Not many fish, you know, low fish load, and this means you can get away with less water changes. But as I indicated at the beginning of the workshop, you know, I'm a massive fan of water changes, and this is something I've really noticed since I've been at home. You know, I've been on lockdown now for, I think this is the 7th week we're going into, and you know, I've just really enjoyed spending time with my own tanks, looking at them, maintaining them. I haven't actually filmed them as much as I'd maybe like to, because I've been so busy working on my book and doing projects for Tropica and Awase. But you know, actually enjoying my hobby again, you know, because I was traveling so much, doing workshops and you know, working abroad just for other companies, etc. You know, my tanks were kind of just maintained enough just to keep them looking good, and that was kind of all the time I could spend with them. I wasn't really spending any time enjoying them for what they're supposed to be enjoyed for. You know, it's a hobby at the end of the day. You know, it happens to me my career as well, but it's still absolutely my passion and my hobby. So to have this kind of 7 weeks at home, 6 weeks at home, to actually enjoy my aquariums again. You know, setting up new tanks. I've set up the Fuval Flex fairly recently. Style Line 85. The videos can be seen of these, of course, on my channel, and also on the Tropica and Awase channels. So check those out if you've not seen them yet. So, but yeah, no, just really enjoying getting my hobby back again a little bit, I guess. And, you know, having really kind of a structured day, getting up, I'm always an early starter anyway. I'm very kind of more productive in the first sort of 3 hours of the day. So I'll get up at sort of 6 a.m. and then I'll, you know, I'll do the morning routine, do a bit of exercise, make myself a special coffee, you know, do the dishwasher, do all the little jobs around the house first, and then I'll crunch straight on to sort of 3 hours of deep work, where not being interrupted, just focusing on writing the book. In case you didn't know already, I'm writing a book on aquascaping. It's very nearly finished now. Just going through some of the photos to include, which is a super exciting process. Had a bit of a drama yesterday, in fact, when I thought my iMac completely crashed on me, and I thought I'd lost everything. And basically what I'd done was just completely filled up the hard drive with video files, and it couldn't update itself because all the memory was basically being used, all the hard drive space was being used. So I couldn't update it, and then I couldn't actually delete anything. And it was just a complete nightmare, and I thought I'd lost, and you know, it's my own fault for not backing stuff up properly, but I thought I'd lost like literally thousands of photos, which a lot of them were going to be used in this book. So I had a bit of a panic, managed to kind of calm myself down a bit, and then sort of thought about things logically, and then eventually, long story short, managed to fix it. So deleted loads of old video files which I'll never use again. And then did a complete system update, got the latest kind of iOS for iMac, and yeah, thankfully it's all working as well as ever have been. So super relieved about that one. Okay, so the Liliopsis is nearly done. Let's put a little bit of Cryptocorini parva just behind that. I do like to use a transitional plant, often between the very foreground and the midground. This just makes it look more natural, especially as you're looking at it from the front, and you get this kind of nice gradient of plants going much shorter at the front, a little bit taller, and then going up towards the back. So crypt parva, I think it is the smallest crypt species available. Really small, and it's actually a medium category plant. I do apologise, I think I said all the plants are easy in here. It is actually a medium category, so it will definitely benefit from CO2. Although you could grow it without CO2, it isn't. You know, it is a relatively easy plant, I would say. But I love it. Really beautiful plants. I really recommend checking out the one of the latest Tropica YouTube channel videos, the limited edition tank, the 10-week update, and you'll see some beautiful specimens of the Cryptparva in there. So now I've got, let's show you this. Can you see that, guys? This plant here. This is Cryptocorini Petchi. So this stays relatively small. This won't get much taller than this. So this is going to go around just behind the Parva. Again, using this kind of transition. And then we've got another one here. I'm just going to plant next to it here. And then we have the good old Staurogine repens. Now this is an easy category plant. And I've actually, you can see how tall it is. So this has actually been growing in a holding tank. I've been using, there's an Awase style line 125 that I've just been holding the plants in, and it's actually been growing really well in there. It does have quite good lighting actually, and I've got CO2 on there as well, so it's all the plants are actually growing quite nicely in there, which is really good. So let's just put that one next to that. I might actually move what's the camera angle like? Is it okay? Do we need to change it? I think it's okay for now. I'll give you a full kind of walk around the tank later once we're fully planted. Okay, so that's another couple of stems of the Staurogine repens in there. I love this plant. It's a stem plant, but it stays quite short. And if you trim it, it produces new side shoots, which promote this kind of really bushy growth, which can look absolutely beautiful. It's a very kind of bright green leaf, quite like Hygrophila in a way. It comes from South America. And yeah, it's one of my favorites. It's, like I said, it's easy. It doesn't need CO2 injection, doesn't need high lighting, and you can get these really nice bushes with it. As with all aquarium plants though, you know, if you do give it CO2, if you do give it more light, more circulation, more nutrients, you will get much better results, much faster growth, much more kind of robust and healthy growth and colour as well. Okay, so we're almost there. Let's just spray those quickly. Let's put some more Liliopsis in the front just to really get as dense a carpet as we can. Liliopsis is a really interesting one. It's actually categorised as an easy plant. It's a slow grower, so you know, in the right conditions it will form a solid carpet eventually, but it will probably take a good few months to do that. And you know, in this system, I'm still debating whether to use CO2 or not. Let me know in the chat, guys. Would you like to see CO2 on this, or should I try to keep it a little bit more low tech? I actually only have one CO2 injected tank, like full Aquascape in the gallery now. The 1200 is inline CO2. The holding tank, like I said, the farm tank is CO2, but that's not going to be CO2 in the long term. I'm actually going to be scaping that next week for Awase, so keep an eye on their channels and you'll see the first kind of videos from them. And then once they've been published, I will publish my own videos, my own kind of version of the step-by-step setup process. And also exciting news, I've added fish to my Fluval Flex and also to the Awase Style Line 85, the Iwagumi setup, which some of you may have seen. I won't spoil the surprise. I've got some fish that aren't very common. They're both tetras, but you may not have seen them before. They're actually, I would argue that they're relatively rare. So excited to share those with you. Always really exciting to add fish to your aquascape. I like to wait a good few weeks before adding fish. I like the plants to mature. You know, this allows the filter to get more mature, more beneficial bacteria. You know, when you do eventually add your fish, you know, the aquarium's going to be, you know, ready to have those fish. You don't need to do the fishless cycling techniques by adding ammonia, etc. in a heavily planted tank. I think that's one of the great benefits of using live plants, is that you don't need to do these kind of old school cycling methods that many people kind of have to do without live plants. Let's just pop that one in there. It's quite weird scaping backwards, to say. Okay, that's that Staurogine in the back, and then right finally at the background we've got this. Do you know what? I don't think I've ever scaped with this before in my own tanks. I've used it in clients' tanks, but not in my own tank. So this is Bacopa Compact. an easy stem plant, and I've probably got, in the one pot here, there's probably at least 30 stems. So I'm just going to break that up into bunches of 4 or 5 stems each, and then I'm just going to plant that in the background to form a solid kind of curtain along the back. And then this will probably grow out the top of the tank eventually. I might let it do that. It might even flower. I think Bacopa produces purple flowers, really small, beautiful purple flowers, which, you know, everyone loves a flower, don't they? So excited to try this one out. I do need to do some research on what LED unit light the bulb I need to replace. I don't know if any of you guys can help me out on the chat. Just jump onto Google and see if you can figure out a replacement bulb for me. So it's a 20 watt halogen. I'm not sure if there's like I haven't noticed a model number or a code, a product code. So it might be quite tricky to find out what the replacement is, but I'm sure I can find out. I think Stefan Graf actually from Liquid Nature did tell me when I was at Tropica with him during the Interzoo 2020 tank setup event, but I've forgotten. So if you're watching, Stefan, firstly apologies for not remembering what you said, and secondly, can you help me out? Let's just pop that last stem in there. Okay, we're really nearly there now. Let's just have a look at the chat. Okay, we've got some super chats, guys. Thank you so much. If Candy or one of the mods, if you can just let me know towards the end who's done the super chats, and I'll give them a special individual thank you, because I really do appreciate it. Okay, so I'm just going to change the camera angle. In fact, let's give you a little tour of the tank before we add the epiphytes. So just excuse the wobble, because I'm just going to detach it from the tripod. Okay, so here we go. Let's come down here a bit. Yeah, that soil is a little bit steep, isn't it? It's a tiny tank though, it's really hard to kind of, you need a little bit of depth to anchor the plants basically. So let's have a look from the top. Everyone wants low tech, okay? CO2 it is, I'm joking. We'll see how, I think it's, do you know what? I have a spare Kessel A160 that I should stick on it, shouldn't I? And then smash about 10 bubbles a second, dose 10 mil of fertilizers every day, 100% water change every day, and then just watch the plants grow like bananas. Thanks for the comments, guys. It's not the best scape, is it? But it's, you know, with the materials I've got, I'm really happy with it. It's a beginner-friendly scape, and that's what my channel's about, really. It's trying to make aquascaping more accessible, more approachable for you guys. You know, sometimes I might use fancy kit, but all the techniques that I use and all of the plants that I use are very kind of beginner-friendly. So let's just drop that down there. And then move this up a touch. Excuse me a second. There is big ground plants, mate. There's Starogini repens, Cryptocorini petchi. So you can't really see them at the moment. Well, obviously once the tank's mature, it just looks like it's gone from the carpet to the mid-ground. I'd appreciate that. But this is Starogini here, which I'll trim back quite soon to promote bushy growth. Starogini is going all the way along the back. And then we've got the petchi here on the right as well. Thanks, Zach. Appreciate the feedback, mate. Oh, in front of the wood. Yeah, I've got some Anubias. The actual wood, what Yuri's is asking, is am I going to plant anything around here? But the wood is actually just below this soil here. Can you see that? so I can't actually plant into there at all. There's a little bit of space there and a little bit of space there, but I'm quite comfortable with what I've done there so far. So let's give those Anubias a bit of a spray. So this is Anubias Petite, beautiful plant, and I've got one pot here which I've already prepared, and then I'm going to smash this right in front of here. Super simple. Oh, it's too big, isn't it? I'm going to have to split that up a bit. There's a smaller portion here. Let's try that. Let's move this quick leaf out of the way. Move these Bacopa leaves out of the way. So this is a classic kind of simple scape that I like to do. Foreground, midground, background, and then finally epiphyte plants. Nothing too complex. And that's what my kind of style is all about. Trying to make aquascaping a little bit more, you know, approachable and simple for folk. I'm not all about the fancy dioramas or complex hardscape layouts, really. Leave that to the true kind of enthusiasts, the aquascaping geeks, if you like. Okay, let's just pop that one in there. And there we have the scape complete. Awesome. So I don't have any moss to use right now. I do have some growing in my 1200. So once that's a bit more mature, I might transfer some over. Yeah, the Anubias is always the epiphytes are always the thing, the final touch, which I love to put in at the end. Okay, so that's the scape complete, guys. Thanks so much for watching. I haven't finished just yet, but we'll give it a bit of a spray. Then I'll fill it up with water. I think it's too small to use my colander. I think the wood is going to get in the way. Let me just get the colander and we'll see how it looks. Excuse me a moment while I just nip out of shot. Okay. I think we're going to struggle. Wonder if I can fit. Yeah, that might work. How does that look? That looks a bit crazy, but it might just work. No ferns. Ferns are too big for this. Look at but you get a sense of scale of how small the tank is now, don't you? Okay, what I'm going to do now, guys, I'm just going to unplug the audio so I can rush and get a jug, and we can slowly fill up the tank. So the audio is going to go dead silent. Chat amongst yourselves for a minute. Excuse me. Okay. Back, can you hear me? Just let me know if you can hear me, guys. Audio is good. Thanks, Candy. Yeah, and hit the like, guys, if you're enjoying this. I'm enjoying it. I'm going to hit the like. Okay. I'm actually going to use water from my Aquascape 1200 because it's got lots of nutrients in there. It's got CO2 in there already. And the plants have been already growing in this same water chemistry, so they should be fine. So let's go throw this in nice and slowly. Okay, just chat amongst yourselves, guys, while I do this. Everyone say a little prayer that we don't get any floating wood. It's quite funny, actually. My wife and I were doing this sort of, you know, those Facebook quizzes that you can get about, you know, things that things that really annoy you, or things that you love about each other, or things that make you cross or angry. And Emma, it was like, what makes you really angry to me? Or the question was, what makes me really angry? And she said, floating wood. So hopefully we don't get that this evening. A little bit of cloudiness there, but I can do a water change super quick. I'm just wondering if there's another way. I could siphon from the 1200 tank straight into. That's a great idea. Excuse me a minute. I've just got another idea to make this a bit more efficient. Should have planned this really, shouldn't I? Call myself a professional. Okay. Let's get the tubing. Now if I pop that there. It's coming out quite quick. We could do another water change later. Anyone need the toilet yet? Okay, 473 of you watching, that's awesome. Guys, if you've enjoyed this stream, then please hit the like button, I'd really appreciate it. It helps just to get the video kind of shared a bit more around YouTube, gets it kind of recommended to other people that might be into aquascaping. So I think that would be a really nice thing. Once we have filled it up, we'll do a little bit of a Q&A. And I need to lift it onto my desk. I think I'll use that opportunity when I do the water change actually. I'll take out as much water as I can, and then I can just lift it onto my desk in one go. Thanks for the super chats guys, appreciate it. I want to give a shout out to the mods as well, so Lizzie, Candy and Radu, thank you, and Yuri's as well. I've just added him as a moderator. So these guys, really appreciate your work. Do unfortunately get some trolls and people that aren't using the stream as it's supposed to be used. So I appreciate those, the moderators' work, and just dropping links and stuff to appropriate things to help keep the stream active and engaged. I really appreciate it. Well, hey, I don't think the water's that bad, is it? It's fairly clear. Good old magic red colander. I think this is the first time I've used a red colander live at home, so it's a bit of a breakthrough moment in the world of aquascaping. Okay, there we go. Perfect. Dum, 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 dum. Oh, that's really cute, isn't it? Okay, let's get the light over here a bit. Let's see if we can. Yeah, it's cute. I'm going to probably just put some cherry shrimp in now. I'd say, what do you guys think? What would you like to see in here? I think it's too small for a better fish. I think, I don't think it's fair to keep them in really, really small tanks. But anyway, okay, what I'm going to do is move the camera back, and then we'll jump into some Q&A. And if there's any pertinent questions you want to know about this actual tank or setup or aquascape, then please feel free to ask. Just going to move this lighting back a bit. And then move this tripod. Just bear with me a second, guys. Oh, we've got 50 Danish kroner, thank you so much. Okay, got this stupid microphone cable dangling everywhere. Let's see if we can. Okay, there we go. Aquascape's complete. Probably one of the fastest aquascapes I've ever done. How long have we been streaming for? Not sure how long we've been going. Time flies when you're having fun. 55 minutes. Okay, let me just jump into the stream, the chats even. Lars Jensen, 50 Danish kroner. Thanks for another inspiring and beautiful aquascape, George. Thank you so much. Martin Redfern, thank you, mate, for the super chat, $4.99. Looking great, mate. Nice way to spend a Sunday evening. Absolutely. Living the dream, aquascaping in front of nearly 500 people. Probably the biggest audience I've had for a live aquascaping workshop. Cherry shrimp, yeah, lots of people saying cherry shrimp. Galaxy Resborers, I think it's a bit small for that. Flower horn, maybe a little bit too small for a flower horn. Scarlet Badis. Dario. Yeah, I'm just not sure about fish. Okay, we've got some super chats. So thanks, Candy, for pointing those out. RP has done 2 super chats. So thank you so much. If you want a question being answered, RP, then let me know. Josh ATX is one of my best super chatters, so I really appreciate that. Very grateful for you, Josh. Dutsu00 and Lars Jansen, thank you. Really appreciate the super chats, guys. Let's dive into a quick Q&A. Oh, RP, €2 super chat. You are great. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yuri's $10.99 donation towards iPhone 12 upgrade. Yeah, thanks, mate. Appreciate that. Check out Yuri's channel if you don't already. I'm sure most of you that watch my channel regularly will know Yuri's by now. Tropica social media manager, and his YouTube content is excellent. So check him out if you don't already subscribe to Yuri's. A good friend of mine as well, I don't mind saying. Okay, loads of lovely comments, guys. You've got a question here. Bish Bash Ash, any plans on doing some more island type aquascapes similar to the one you did at Evolution Aqua HQ, maybe high tech? Really like the way the fish shoal around the island scapes look so natural. That's a really good question. The 1200 is kind of island in a way, but I know what you mean, like a purely kind of cosmetic open sand all the way around and then like loads of epiphyte plants coming up. Maybe. I tend to prefer much heavily planted tanks. I really like to see lush planted tanks, so I don't know. I'm always open-minded though, so who knows, maybe one day. This is a good question from Last of the Corinthians 1878. What a great username. George, could trident fern survive in low light, no CO2? Tropica class it as an easy plant. It is regarded as an easy plant and it will survive and it will grow very slowly without good light and CO2. But in my experience, to get the best growth, the most kind of beautiful lush growth, you will need CO2 injection and more light versus the regular kind of Microsorum terapus, the regular Java fern. So by all means, try it out, see how you get on with it. And if you want to get the best results from it, if you're not experiencing good results, then you might need to consider injecting CO2 and having more light. MH Aquatics, will I do the Rachel tank challenge? I'm not sure what it is, so I'm not sure. New Mexico, we've got no more super chats coming in. Thank you so much, guys. Horizon Aquatics, great video. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Hopefully be able to do the workshop at your place soon. Otlik 50, I think that's Czechoslovakian currency. Having to go smaller from my 120p because of moving. Is a 45 big enough for good impact, or should I push it for a 60p? Thanks, lots of love. Thank you so much, Otik. A 45p is a good size, but I would, if you could go for the 60p, it gives you that just a little bit more room for, more space for creativity. So you could put a few more fish, maybe a slightly bigger fish, more plant choice, etc. So I would always go as big as you can. unless you're limited for space, in which case it's always, going small is no problem. But I would personally go for the 60p. I really like the 60p in general. I think it's a beautiful size aquarium. It's the classic, it's like it's like a classic car, isn't it? It's just synonymous with the Nature Aquarium from ADA, Takashi Amano. So many beautiful layouts created by him in the 60p. It's an affordable size, and there's lots of light units that are designed for a 60 centimeter aquarium as well. So you have a lot more potentially a lot more equipment choices that are kind of, almost like a cut and paste into a 60p. So yeah, my answer is 60p if you can, mate. Thanks for the super chat, I really appreciate it. Mark Dore, weekly pocket money, hope you're well. Thanks, Mark. Shout out to Mark, really great guy. I know Mark from my workshops at Crowder's Aquatics, and a really good scaper. I think he's got an Aquascape 900, which is really beautiful. It's on, I think he's got his own, got your own Instagram, Mark? Drop your Instagram handle down and let people follow you on there, mate. Really enjoyed the vid, thank you for doing it. Finny025, thank you very much. Czech crowns, not Czechoslovakian crowns. Oh, I do apologise. Yeah, Czechoslovakia isn't a thing anymore. Steve Killingback Music. Hi mate, how are you? Hope you're well. Had two options, Aquascape, Naturescape with wood and rocks, or Iwagumi. Done Iwagumi and would like to keep it. Can I plant heavily rather than minimally? Absolutely. You know what? It's up to you, mate. That's the beauty of any art form, is it's completely up to you. You are the artist. You can create exactly what you want. There are some beautiful Iwagumis out there with heavily planted layouts. Just because the kind of regular style is to go minimalist planting with an Iwagumi doesn't mean that you shouldn't plant heavily. I mean, my Iwagumi now in the Awase style line 85 is, it's got 5-6 different species of plants in there. It's got Vallis in there, and it's getting quite jungle-like already. So absolutely go heavily planted if that's what you want to do. And thanks for the super chat, mate, and I hope you're well. Guppy Central, €5, thank you, mate. Great Aquascape stream. Does the Awase style line allow for lily pipes? Yes, it does. It has a cutout in the back, so you can actually put your lily pipes around at the back, but you can't put them over the side like you might want to do with, a lot of lily pipes. You see them over the side of the aquarium rather than over the back. You have to put them in the back of the style line. I've painted my background black, so actually I use the internal filter at the moment, the supplied internal filter. I think it's the Filto Smart or the Buy It. I can't remember the name of it now. It's embarrassing. I use the internal filter, but if I wanted to use external filter, I would just use black plastic inlet and outlet with a black background. If you didn't want to use a background and have a pale wall behind the tank, then you could use the lily pipes and glass clear hoses, and then you're going to minimise the impact in the background, if that makes sense. Thanks for the super chat, mate. Got another one. Robert Jing or Ging. I see the 120's tube is slightly dirty. Do you clean them, and if so, how? Great stream today. You mean these? This is embarrassing. I can't believe that people have noticed my dirty tubes. It does need a clean, and I do clean them. I clean them about every 3 weeks or so, and I use a hose brush to clean them. So it's a special kind of flexible wire brush with a kind of, how do I say, just a flexible, I'm going to get it out and show you. It's just easy to do, isn't it? So I use this. Some of you may have seen these already. ADA do them. This is a cheap one. I can't remember where I bought it from. But yeah, that just goes in there and you clean it. Same with the lily pipes. I actually soak these in like a weak bleach solution first, and then it just makes them really easy to clean. But yeah, I have to clean these every 3 weeks or so. Something I have noticed during the lockdown, I've been changing loads more water on this. They don't get dirty anywhere near as quickly the more water changes you do. So that's a top tip. More water changes take more time probably than cleaning these, but if you wanted the extra benefit of doing big water changes, then it does keep your hoses cleaner for longer. Zach Rafik, thank you, mate. 10 SGD. What's SGD? Is that Slovakian? Great job, George. Keep your sleeves wet. Will do, mate. Thank you so much. Keep up the good work on Facebook, on your Facebook group. Sniper wipers. I've just bought the Awase BioPlus 50. Can I add the Awase 50 watt heater to this? I think so, yes. Past the dirt road. Wait, George is human. His tanks aren't perfect all the time. No, they're not. In fact, oh, that was close. There are quite a few videos on my channel about how I deal with algae problems, etc. So, yeah, I'm human. Slovakian is SVK, apologies. Cherry shrimp, yeah, I agree. Singapore dollars, thanks Josh. Leo C, noob question here. Why do you use lily pipes, new to aquascaping? Because they're aesthetically more pleasing than ugly plastic filter pipes that you normally get with other filters. So often it's either black plastic or green plastic. And these just make the aquascape look ugly. So we use glass and it just blends in with the background and they look really nice, especially when they're really clean, which these aren't at the moment, but we don't look at that. Singapore dollars, okay, apologies mate, I didn't realise you're from Singapore. Do you know, you must know Dennis Wong then if you're from Singapore, I guess. Awesome guy, really knowledgeable. Okay, guys, I'm going to give it another 5 minutes or so. So get your Q&As in quick. I'm just going to move I'm going to move this over here, and then I can look at you and answer questions at the same time. Sam Amin Zada, do you prefer inline atomizer or in-tank neo diffuser more? What are the pros and cons? That's a great question, Sam. I prefer inline on bigger tanks, basically, and then I like to use the in tank, like the neo diffuser, in smaller tanks. The reason I like inline in bigger tanks is because you're going to get a better CO2 distribution. You're probably going to be using a large canister filter, so you're going to have a lot of flow through the hose. So you put the inline diffuser on the outlet of the hose, that CO2 gas, the microbubbles are going to get fired through the tank and hopefully get all the way around the water column, feed those plants equally as well, ideally getting all around the tank and then feeding all those plants ideally the same amount of CO2. If you did the same thing with an in-tank diffuser, you normally get a build-up of CO2 in a smaller area of the tank, especially in a bigger tank. So you can get away with an in-tank diffuser in a smaller tank because you're going to have more likelihood of that CO2 gas getting around the water column. You just have to think about, CO2 and circulation are kind of like a symbiotic thing, like a synergy that goes between them. The better circulation you have, the better you can get that CO2 around the aquarium. So you have to think about that in terms of your diffuser type and where you position it in the aquarium, or indeed if you use an inline diffuser. Hopefully that makes sense. Tom McMillan, a very generous £10. Thank you so much, sir. Crypt only scape, how essential to add fast growers even with high biomass of crypts? Would around 30 pots for a 60 by 30 aquarium be okay? If so, when can I remove? Advice on preventing crypt melt. That's a great question and definitely worth answering. Do you know what? In a crypt only scape, 30 pots is absolutely enough for a 60 by 30. I assume you mean centimetres, or do you mean inches? Let me know. But if it's a 60 by 30 aquarium, then 30 pots is absolutely enough. You probably won't need that many. I would actually just use floating plants initially. Crypts don't need a lot of light, so those floating plants are going to shade them a little bit, so that's no problem. But the fast-growing nature of those floating plants are going to help prevent the algae issues. They use lots of nutrients, they grow very quickly because they have lots of light, because they're nearer the light, of course. And they have more access to CO2 in the air. So they're going to grow like crazy. This is going to help avoid algae and also help avoid algae because they're shading the plants below. So I'd use something like Salvinia auriculata or maybe Amazon frogbit, Limnobium laevigatum. And these would be a good choice. And then You can just, if you don't like them after a while and the crypts have settled in, then you can take all that floating plant out. And to avoid crypt melt, now I'm going to actually come up with a suggestion that Yuri's talks about, and I think Adri Bauman and a few other professional scapers, when they prep their crypts, they actually trim all the leaves off. They get their pot, beautiful leaves coming out of it, and then they get their scissors and they just literally trim all the leaves off, and then they plant. It looks horrific, and it makes me feel a bit, ugh. But it works. You know, all of the nutrient store is in those roots, in the rootstock, and they'll grow you'll get new leaves quite quickly, and those new leaves will be readily adapted to your aquarium water parameters, and you won't get any melt because they've had to grow in that new water. So the risk of planting crypts that you'd normally buy is that they struggle to adapt to your new water chemistry, and then you get the melt. I don't get much melt at all, even with brand new crypts, which is why I never trim them. So it's up to you. It's a risk with the melt, always a risk with melt. If you want to avoid that risk, then you go through that thing of just trimming them off. It looks horrible for the first few weeks, obviously, until the leaves come up, but worth a try maybe. David Holloway, thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate it. How many do you recommend fertilizing your plants daily when on holiday? So what you can do on holiday is you can use an auto doser. So I use a D&D P1 auto doser, which in here I dose 25 milliliters every day. If you can't dose, obviously you're on holiday and you can't get anyone to do it for you, then I would actually just run the lower lighting. So halve your lighting, whatever you're running. So if you're running 10 hours, 5 hours, if you're running 8 hours, which I do, run it at 4 hours. And then even potentially have them dimmer as well if you have the option. The plants are still going to have enough light to survive. They're not going to grow very well, but because everything's slowed down because you've not got as much light, their nutrient demand goes down, so you don't need so many fertilizers. Another tip, and I've done this before, when I've left my tanks completely alone for 2 weeks, I've actually turned the lights off. It's in a mature setup, so the plant has a lot of kind of nutrient store, and they look a little bit poorly, obviously, when you come back and turn the lights on. But there's zero chance of algae. They're not taking in any nutrients. They go into kind of a dormant state. Sometimes they'll even grow in the dark, depending on the species. But that's another option. Just turn your lights off. New Mexico Aquatics, do you love your life? Because I do, little Bobby. Absolutely, mate. Living the dream. Even though we're on lockdown, you know, I'm at home with my wife, my stepsons. I have my stepdaughter come over, and we have a really great time. You know, we play board games. We've got quite a good routine work structure. The boys are doing schoolwork. Emma and I both work from home. We've got Tommy to take for walks. Emma and I both go running together, and it could be a lot worse. You know, we've got our health. Thankfully, you know, we've not been struck down by this awful disease yet. Touch wood. It's a wooden cabinet. So yeah, I love my life, mate, and I'm glad you do too, mate. Pastor Dirt Road is going to say cheerio. Oh, Mr. Super Chat above. Jordan Tate 95. I can't see any more super chats, guys. Do apologise. David Holloway, we've got. Tom McMillan, I've done. The Joologist. Sorry, mate. When lockdown is over, where do you plan to go next, if anywhere that is? My next, probably Tropica. I was going over there every 2 weeks, every other week, in fact, to work on the interzoo tanks. Before that, I was going over there once a month, so that'll probably be my next international destination. Also, whilst I'm in Denmark, I do want to do a workshop at Unimarte. Some of you may have seen the shop tour I did of that. That went viral, has got 250,000 views. But a beautiful store, and you know, really excited to do a workshop for those guys. And then in the UK, I want to see Scape Nature, Ray. I want to see Aquarium Gardens, do a workshop for those guys. I want to see Horizon Aquatics, do a workshop for them. And I've probably forgotten some other people I'm embarrassed about. And then I've got more travel in later in the year, hopefully, if things are everything's kind of getting a little bit more kind of back to normal. An American trip, hopefully Aquashella, maybe Aquatic Experience if it's on. And then hopefully doing a book promotion tour late this year or early next year. So yeah, lots of travelling. I do kind of miss the travelling, but equally I've really enjoyed staying at home and having like a real kind of routine and structure to the day. You know, working on the book first thing in the morning when I've got the most energy and most kind of brain power available to do writing. And then yeah, doing my own kind of content, but working a lot for Tropica, doing videos for those guys, working with the Waze as well. But yeah, that's the travel plans, mate. Denmark, USA, workshops around the UK as well. Thanks for the super chat, mate. Appreciate it. Okay, guys, I'm going to answer 3 more questions and then I'm going to say cheerio. Jason Larcom, are there any UK-based aquatic conventions such as Aquashella? Unfortunately not. There's no consumer show in the UK. There is Aqua Telford, which is trade only. Tropical Fish Keeping UK, which is a really big Facebook group, had some events planned, but with lockdown, Corona, they had to be cancelled. But those, if you're on Facebook, check out Tropical Fish Keeping UK Facebook group. I'm sure they're going to reorganise some physical events where people can attend, so check that out. Well, we've got another super chat. PW Fish 4.99. Thank you, PW Fish. I really appreciate it. Planning to buy my first external filter. Should I have any concerns in terms of back siphon in power outages, etc.? No, it's a kind of closed loop system. So in a power outage, your filter obviously switches off and the water stays static. It doesn't go anywhere. So don't worry about that. I've had a few power cuts in my time. I turn my filter off at the socket when I'm doing some maintenance sometimes. So absolutely don't worry about that. And thank you so much for the generous super chat. I really appreciate it. Okay, I'm going to answer one more before I say cheerio. Thanks, Candy, for the link to the Facebook group. Let's find a good one. Okay, this is a good question. Last one. Last of the Corinthians, 1878. Any plans on going to the Amazon in the future? Nothing absolutely planned, but I would love to. I do know quite a few people that have been. I'm good friends with Ty Streitman, who's actually doing a master's in ichthyology, fish, the study of fish, actually down in Brazil. And I would love to go and see him and spend some time with him. So maybe once this pandemic's over, I mean, I've done all the other essential stuff like promoting the book, etc. So maybe one for next year. After invest in maybe a camera housing and stuff for the big camera to go some cool underwater footage, etc. But yeah, I would love to go to the Amazon at some point. Absolutely. Okay, I'm going to say cheerio there, guys. Thanks so much for watching. 429 of you watching right now. If you have enjoyed this stream, then please consider hitting the like button. I really appreciate it. Stay safe. Wash your hands a lot and observe your social distancing. But most important, enjoy your hobby. You know, aquariums are beautiful. Aquascaping is a therapeutic hobby and something that you should really kind of engage with, especially in these times where we're spending more time at home. Please consider supporting your local aquarium stores. You know, these guys are probably struggling a lot right now and they could do your support. So if you can afford it, then consider buying some more plants, some more hardscape, some substrate, rescaping your tanks. If you can't afford it, then even just rescape your tank, rearrange some stuff, make it look better. Really enjoy the process. you know, and even consider if you don't have Instagram or Facebook or social media, you know, I can recommend it, and you can share your hobby with other people, you know, engage with the community, help, you know, if you have a beautiful aquarium, share it with other people, help inspire them, and, you know, you could maybe even get more and more people into the hobby. You know, my passion is absolutely spreading the aquascaping love, getting more people into the hobby, and allowing it to enrich their lives, hopefully. So hopefully you guys can do that too. Okay, I'm going to definitely say cheerio now. Appreciate you watching this one. Really enjoyed making this Tropica AquaCube for you. Unfortunately not available to buy anymore. Super grateful for Tropica and for Holger for giving it to me and for this opportunity of creating it in front of you guys. So I hope you enjoyed it. Take care. Keep on scaping. Cheerio.